I was bedridden with a 103-degree fever and pneumonia. My fiancée chose to attend a concert with her, just a friend coworker, instead of caring for me. She claimed I was being dramatic, and that needed her more. What she didn't know was that I had already planned the perfect surprise for our engagement party, one that would reveal exactly who she really was to everyone who mattered. Hey viewers, welcome to the channel. We are just starting and your support means a lot. If you enjoy these stories, please consider subscribing and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. I, Jake, 28, Emma, 26, had been my fiancée for 8 months when this all went down. Been together for 3 years, and I genuinely believed she was the love of my life. She worked as a marketing coordinator at a tech startup downtown, and I'm a software engineer at a consulting firm. On paper, we were the perfect couple, young professionals, shared interests, compatible life goals. Everyone said we looked great together. Problems started small, like they always do. Emma had this way of making me feel like I was overreacting to things that bothered me. When I'd bring up something that hurt my feelings, she'd flip it around and somehow make it about how I wasn't being supportive enough of her career or her friendships. I started second-guessing myself constantly. Then there was Mason Chen, 29. Joined Emma's company about 6 months before our engagement, and suddenly he was everywhere. Mason was going through a difficult divorce, according to Emma, and needed emotional support. She started staying late at work to help him with projects. Weekend coffee dates became a regular thing because he was struggling and needed a friend. Every conversation somehow circled back to Mason's problems and how Emma was the only one who really understood him. I tried to be the understanding boyfriend. I really did. When Emma canceled our Saturday morning hikes because Mason needed help moving furniture, I bit my tongue. When she spent 2 hours on the phone with him every night after work, I convinced myself I was being jealous and controlling. When she started dressing up more for work and buying new perfume, I told myself she was just trying to feel confident during a stressful time at the office. The turning point came on a Thursday in February. I woke up feeling absolutely terrible, body aches, chills, the works. Noon, my fever had spiked to 103 degrees, and I could barely keep my eyes open. I called Emma at work, something I rarely did because I knew how much she hated personal interruptions during business hours. "Emma, I think I need to go to urgent care," I told her, my voice barely above a whisper. "My fever is really high and I'm having trouble breathing." "You're being dramatic," she said, and I could hear typing in the background. She wasn't even giving me her full attention. "Just take some Tylenol and drink fluids. I can't leave work right now. We're in the middle of a crucial campaign launch." I ended up driving myself to urgent care, despite feeling like I was going to pass out behind the wheel. Doctor diagnosed me with pneumonia and prescribed strong antibiotics, telling me I needed complete bed rest and someone to monitor me for the next few days. When I called Emma with the diagnosis, she sighed like I was inconveniencing her. "I'll pick up your prescription on my way home," she said, "but I already made plans with the girls tonight." Sarah Chen, 25, was having a crisis with her boyfriend, and we were all going to rally around her. "You understand, right?" I spent that night alone, shivering under 3 blankets while Emma was out at some trendy bar consoling her friend. She came home after midnight, reeking of alcohol and expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I asked her about it the next morning. She laughed it off, saying they'd gone to a place with really strong air fresheners. Friday was worse. My fever hadn't broken, and I was so weak I could barely make it to the bathroom without getting dizzy. Emma left for work after bringing me a glass of water and promising to check on me during lunch. She never called. That evening, she announced she had plans again. "There's this concert downtown that Mason really wants to go to," she explained while getting ready in our bathroom mirror. "His ex-wife loved this band, and he needs the emotional support of experiencing it with a friend instead of being reminded of her. It's really important for his healing process." I stared at her from our bed, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Emma, I have pneumonia. The doctor said I need someone to monitor me. What if my fever spikes again? What if I need to go to the hospital?" She applied her lipstick, a shade I'd never seen her wear before, and turned to face me. "Jake, you're 28 years old, not 8. You can call 911 if there's an emergency. Mason bought these tickets weeks ago, and I already promised I'd go with him. His mental health is really fragile right now, and I can't let him down." "What about my health?" I asked weakly. "You have pneumonia, not cancer," she snapped. "Stop being so needy." That word, needy, hit me like a physical blow. Here I was, sick enough to be bedridden, asking my fiancée to stay home and take care of me, and she was calling me needy. I watched her finish getting ready, putting on a dress I'd bought her for her birthday, the one she'd claimed was too fancy for everyday wear. After she left, I called my brother David, 31, who lived about an hour away. "Dude, where's Emma?" he asked when he arrived and saw me alone. I told him everything, and I watched his face change from concern to disbelief to anger. "Jake, this isn't normal," he said. "When Lisa had food poisoning last month, I took 3 days off work to take care of her. That's what you do when you love someone." At night, lying awake while Emma was out with Mason, something clicked. I started thinking about all the little things I'd been ignoring, how she'd become secretive about her phone, always face down on tables, how she'd started working out more and buying new clothes, how every conversation about our future seemed to get redirected to her immediate needs or Mason's problems. Made a decision that would change everything. Our engagement party was scheduled for the following Saturday, exactly 1 week away. Emma had been planning it for months, insisting on inviting everyone from both our families, all our friends, and several people from her work, including Mason, of course, because he needed to be around positive energy and happy couples to help with his healing. I spent the next few days recovering and planning. By Tuesday, my fever had broken, and I was feeling well enough to do some investigating. I'm a software engineer, remember, and I have certain skills when it comes to digital forensics. Emma had been sloppy about her digital security. She used the same password for everything, including her cloud backup. What I found in her deleted photos and messages confirmed everything I'd started to suspect. The photos went back 3 months, pictures of Emma and Mason at restaurants I'd never been to, photos of them at his apartment, which was decorated nothing like someone going through a difficult divorce would live. Mason wasn't wearing a wedding ring in any of the photos, and there were no signs of another person ever having lived there. The messages were worse. Conversations about how boring I was, how I didn't understand her ambition the way Mason did, plans for romantic getaways they were going to take once she figured out how to handle the Jake situation. Screenshots she'd sent him of our private conversations, mocking things I'd said or done. The worst part was a message thread from the night I was diagnosed with pneumonia. Emma had texted Mason from the urgent care parking lot. He's being such a drama queen about being sick. Still want to go to that concert Friday. Tell him it's for your emotional healing or something, lol. His response, can't wait to have you all to myself, wear that red dress I like. I screenshotted everything, backed it all up and started making plans. The engagement party was being held at Emma's parents' house, a beautiful colonial in an upscale neighborhood. Mother, Patricia Rodriguez, 52, had been planning this party like it was a royal wedding. She'd hired caterers, a bartender, even a photographer to capture this special milestone in Emma's life. I spent the week playing the part of the recovering, grateful fiancé. Thanked Emma for taking such good care of me while I was sick, even though she'd basically abandoned me. I asked her opinion on my speech for the party, letting her believe I was going to give some generic romantic toast about our future together. Just keep it simple, she advised. Talk about how much you love me and how excited you are to start our life together. Maybe mention how supportive I am, like how I took care of you when you were sick. The audacity was breathtaking. Saturday arrived and the house looked perfect. Emma had spent the morning getting her hair and makeup done professionally. She wore a white cocktail dress that she said represented the purity of our love and made sure to position herself prominently for photos with everyone who arrived. Our families were there, my parents, Michael and Susan Thompson, both 55, along with my brother David and his wife Lisa, 28. Emma's parents, Patricia and Roberto Rodriguez, 54, beamed with pride as they welcomed guests. Emma's sister, Sofia Rodriguez, 23, had flown in from college for the occasion. Friends filled the house, college buddies, coworkers, neighbors. And yes, Mason was there, playing the role of the supportive friend going through a tough time. I watched him and Emma carefully throughout the evening. They were good at maintaining their facade, but I could see the little touches, the meaningful glances, the way they found excuses to stand close to each other. As the evening wound down and people gathered in the living room for toasts, Emma squeezed my hand and whispered, "I'm so lucky to have someone who loves me as much as you do." I squeezed back and smiled. "You have no idea what's coming." I stood up, champagne glass in hand, and the room fell quiet. Emma beamed up at me from her chair, probably expecting some heartfelt declaration of love that she could later screenshot and send to Mason with laughing emojis. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, my voice clear and steady. "Emma and I have been together for 3 years, and I thought I knew everything about her. Recently, I've learned so much more about the woman I was planning to marry." Emma's smile widened. She had no idea. "I've learned about her capacity for creativity, the incredibly creative stories she tells about her whereabouts. I've learned about her dedication, how dedicated she is to her coworker Mason's emotional healing process." I saw Emma's face start to change, confusion replacing her smile. "I've learned about her compassion, how compassionate she is toward men going through difficult divorces, especially ones who apparently never actually got married in the first place." The room was completely silent now. I could see people starting to piece together what was happening. But most importantly, I've learned about her loyalty. Emma is incredibly loyal to herself, her desires, and her needs. Even when her fiancé has pneumonia and is bedridden with a 103-degree fever, she remains loyal to her commitment to attend concerts with her emotional support coworker. Emma was standing now, her face pale except for 2 bright red spots on her cheeks. "Jake, what are you doing?" "Telling everyone about the woman I fell in love with," I said calmly. "The woman who spent 3 months planning elaborate romantic getaways with another man. The woman who screenshot our private conversations to share with her boyfriend so they could laugh about how boring and dramatic I am." I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshot folder I'd prepared. Mason, buddy, you might want to hear this part too. Emma's been telling you that I don't understand her ambitions, right? That I don't support her career the way you do? Well, here's what she really thinks about your little arrangement. I read directly from one of their message threads. Mason is so easy to manipulate. Thinks he's getting the girl, but really I'm just keeping him on the hook until I figure out if Jake's promotion comes through. If Jake gets the senior developer position, I'll dump Mason and play the devoted fiancé. If not, I'll probably break up with Jake and let Mason think he won me over. The silence in the room was deafening. I could see Emma's parents staring at their daughter in shock. Mason's face had gone completely white. The beautiful thing about being a software engineer, I continued, is that I know how to recover deleted files. Emma thought she was being clever, deleting the evidence of her double life, but everything lives forever in the cloud. Looked directly at Emma, who was now crying, not tears of shame or remorse, but angry tears at being caught. The concert you went to instead of taking care of me when I had pneumonia, you texted Mason from urgent care that I was being a drama queen and couldn't wait to have him all to yourself. You wore the red dress he likes, the one I bought you for your birthday. Emma's mother gasped audibly. Trisha had been so proud of raising a daughter with strong values and integrity. So here's what's going to happen, I said, setting down my champagne glass. Emma, consider this our breakup. The ring is upstairs on the dresser next to printed copies of all your messages with Mason. Mason, you can have her, but just remember, if she'll cheat with you, she'll cheat on you. Everyone else, thank you for coming to what turned out to be a very different kind of celebration than we planned. I walked toward the door, but turned back for one final moment. Oh, and Emma, you were right about one thing. I was being dramatic when I called you about having pneumonia. I was dramatically underestimating how little you actually cared about me. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Emma tried to follow me outside, alternating between angry accusations that I'd violated her privacy and tearful pleas that I was misunderstanding everything. When those didn't work, she tried to claim that Mason had been manipulating and using her, and she was actually a victim in the whole situation. Mason, to his credit, didn't try to deny anything. He just quietly left through the back door, probably realizing that his cover was blown not just with me, but with everyone in Emma's social circle. Emma's parents were mortified. Patricia, who had spent months bragging to her friends about her daughter's upcoming wedding to such a stable, successful young man, was now faced with the reality that her daughter was a cheater and a liar. Roberto just shook his head and muttered something in Spanish that I'm pretty sure wasn't complimentary. My family rallied around me immediately. David helped me move my stuff out of Emma's apartment the next day while she was staying at her parents' house, probably trying to figure out how to spin the story in her favor. Next few weeks were hard. 3 years of your life doesn't just disappear overnight, even when it ends with such dramatic clarity. I had to field calls from mutual friends who had heard various versions of what happened. Some had gotten Emma's version, where I was a controlling, jealous boyfriend who had violated her privacy and humiliated her publicly. Others had heard more accurate accounts from people who were actually there. What surprised me was how many people came forward with their own observations about Emma and Mason. Sarah Chen, who I'd thought was Emma's close friend, reached out to tell me that she'd been uncomfortable with their relationship for months. She'd never actually had a boyfriend crisis that night. Emma went out instead of taking care of me. Emma had lied about that too. Sarah had been at home with her family, completely unaware that her name was being used as cover for Emma's date with Mason. Other coworkers from Emma's company admitted they'd all known about the affair, but hadn't known how to approach me about it. Difficult divorce story was complete fiction. Mason had never been married. He'd been living in his apartment alone for 2 years, and the whole sob story about needing emotional support was just a manipulation tactic he and Emma had developed together. Hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself, though. It was realizing how long I'd been gaslighted into thinking my concerns were unreasonable. Every time I'd felt uncomfortable about Mason, Emma had convinced me I was being jealous and controlling. Every time I'd asked for basic consideration, like staying home when I had pneumonia, she'd made me feel like I was being needy and demanding. Started seeing a therapist, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, 45, who specialized in relationships and emotional abuse. She helped me understand that what Emma had done went beyond simple cheating. It was a systematic dismantling of my ability to trust my own instincts and perceptions. You weren't crazy or jealous, she told me during one of our sessions. Your gut was telling you something was wrong because something was wrong. The problem is that Emma was so skilled at redirecting your attention and making you question yourself that you stopped listening to those instincts. 3 months later, I'm doing much better. I moved into a new apartment closer to my brother's family. Got that promotion Emma had been so calculating about. The senior developer position came with a significant raise and better benefits. I'm working out regularly, eating better, and sleeping through the night without wondering what lies I'm being told. Emma has tried to reach out a few times through mutual friends, claiming she wants to explain her side and provide context for what happened. I've ignored all attempts at contact. There's no context that makes cheating okay, no explanation that justifies abandoning your sick partner for a concert with your affair partner. I heard through the grapevine that she and Mason dated for about 6 weeks after our engagement party before breaking up spectacularly. Apparently, once the thrill of the secret affair wore off and they were actually together openly, they realized they didn't actually like each other very much. Emma has since moved back in with her parents and is apparently telling people that she's focusing on herself and her career. Engagement party video taken by the photographer Emma's mother hired has become something of a legend among our friend group. My brother David has dubbed it the greatest breakup speech in history, and several people have asked for copies. I've declined to share it publicly, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't watch it occasionally when I need a reminder of why I did what I did. Looking back, I have no regrets about how I handled the situation. Could I have confronted Emma privately? Sure. Could I have just quietly ended the relationship without the public revelation? Absolutely. But Emma had spent months humiliating me in private, lying to my face, and manipulating me into doubting my own perceptions. She had involved our entire social circle in her deception, using our friends as alibis and cover stories for her affair. The public nature of her betrayal deserved a public reckoning. Every person at that party had been unknowingly complicit in her lies, believing they were celebrating a loving relationship, while Emma was actively planning to betray me. Deserved to know the truth, just like I did. More importantly, I deserved to take back my power in the situation. For months, Emma had held all the cards. She knew the truth about what was happening while keeping me in the dark. She got to enjoy the excitement of her affair while maintaining the security and respectability of our relationship. She got to play the victim whenever I expressed concerns, turning my reasonable questions into evidence of my inadequacy as a partner. The engagement party speech flipped that dynamic completely. Suddenly, Emma was the one caught off guard, the one scrambling to control the narrative, the one facing the judgment of everyone who mattered to her. For the first time in months, I was the one with all the information and all the power. I've learned a lot about myself through this experience. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought, more decisive when pushed to my limit, and better at reading people than I gave myself credit for. I've also learned that trust, once broken, isn't something you can just decide to rebuild. It has to be earned through consistent actions over time. These days, I'm focused on my own growth and happiness. I'm taking a pottery class, learning to play guitar, and planning a solo trip to Japan that I've always wanted to take. I'm open to dating again eventually, but I'm not rushing into anything. I want to make sure I've fully processed this experience and rebuilt my confidence in my own judgment before involving someone else in my life. Sometimes people ask me if I think Emma ever really loved me or if the entire 3 years was just an elaborate lie. Honestly, I think she loved the version of me that served her needs, the stable, successful boyfriend who made her look good and provided security while she explored other options. But love isn't just about what someone can do for you. It's about caring for them even when it's inconvenient, supporting them when they're vulnerable, and choosing them even when other options present themselves. That definition, Emma never loved me at all, and recognizing that truth, as painful as it was, has set me free to find something real with someone who actually deserves the love I have to give. The engagement party might have been the end of one chapter of my life, but it was also the beginning of a much better one. Sometimes the most dramatic endings create space for the most beautiful new beginnings.